evening. It's just past 6 o'clock on Saturday the 4th of September and welcome to this week's news programme. And in the news this week, Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue, let me find their little logo, there we go, has this week been supporting the National Chimney Fire Safety Week, which runs through till tomorrow. Organised by the Heating Equipment Testing and Approval Scheme and as part of the government's Fire Kills campaign, the Awareness Week calls for homeowners to act responsibly and get their chimneys swept by an approved sweep. This prevents chimney damage and, in the worst case, of course, chimney fires and household fires. Dorset Wiltshire Fire and Rescue tell us a clean chimney can help prevent fires and structural damage to your property. Getting a qualified chimney sweep to inspect your chimney regularly and using a quality assured fuel are the keys to fire prevention. As well as removing soot and tar deposits and cleaning obstructions such as bird or animal nests, leaves and debris, the sweep will also check any problems with the chimney or its liner. Having attended nearly 170 chimney fires across its area in 2021, the service has issued the following safety advice for anyone who has a working chimney at home. So listen out if you have a working chimney and you use it. Don't use flammable liquids such as petrol or paraffin to light your fire. Don't burn excessive amounts of paper or rubbish. Don't overload the fire with fuel. Take advice from your chimney sweep on how often they should visit. The type of fire you have can impact on this, so depending on what you're burning. Always get the chimney swept before the colder weather sets in. Make sure you have working smoke and carbon monoxide alarms at home and test them regularly. That's what you need to do to stay safe if you've got a working chimney, so you don't become one of those 170 fires a year that Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue have to deal with. Moving to one of the other emergency services now, South Western Ambulance Trust are using smartphone technology to help reach patients virtually within seconds. Clinicians in the ambulance control rooms are asking some 999 callers to use their phone camera to help them to assess the patient's injuries or illness and decide what treatment is required. With their permission, the caller is sent a text message asking them to click and accept a link to send a live stream from their camera phone to the clinician in the ambulance control centre. The Good Sam video consultation platform enables clinicians to see the patient on their screen and provide the most appropriate help and advice for them. In some cases, it can help identify patients who don't need an emergency ambulance. Reese Hancock from Southwest Ambulance said, "The Good Sam video technology is making a really positive difference to our patient care across the Southwest. Our clinicians can assess the patient's condition more effectively, providing clinical advice based on what they see and hear, and support the patient until the ambulance teams arrive on scene if they are required. This is helping us to provide the right care to our patients in the right place at the right time. It is also reassuring to our callers that the best is being done for the patient. Most importantly, it's helping to ensure that precious resources such as ambulances and air ambulances are sent to those most in need and ultimately helping the trust to save lives." Swash launched the trial of this system back in May 2020 and observed the benefit for its response in numerous emergency incidents. These range from patients who simply needed advice to manage their illness or injury at home to those who could be observed while an ambulance was on the way. The technology has since been rolled out for use by all clinicians within the ambulance control rooms. It can be used by anyone who has a smartphone and they don't need to download an app for the video stream to be enabled. All the data is securely transmitted with end-to-end encryption and the video consultation is not recorded. So maybe if you've got to make a 999 call in the coming weeks and you've got a smartphone, you may be asked to click on a link by the ambulance controller so the clinician can look at your camera and see what's going on. And that's obviously really good news. Dorset Council now we're turning to. The construction industry has seen a huge surge during the pandemic. Homeowners with more cash in their pockets than normal are considering extensions or changes to their homes because working from home has become the future. Last month, planning applications rose in every English region compared to July 2020. This follows a bumper start to the year where February saw an amazing 25% increase in applications compared to the same time last year. Throughout 2020, there was a 36% increase in the number of applications compared to 2019. And this activity has led to a huge demand on Dorset Council's Planning Services Department's resources. When the council formed back in 2019 from the former district, borough and county councils, there were 6 different planning departments working in different systems. And basically they have worked since then to bring all the teams together and to start transferring 47 years of records held on different systems onto one new system. In spring of 2020, the team had been formed and the areas needed most support had been identified. The discovery phase of the planning convergence and transformation project was complete, and the teams were ready to transfer the first area to the new system. Fast forward now to the present. 4 out of 6 of the areas have been transferred, with the next planned for October. People have been recruited to fill vacancies and teams are using the new joined up system. Another area that has seen a huge increase in demand for Dorset Council is land searches and charges. The stamp duty holiday encouraged people to move home to new areas to give a better life balance. This national incentive to help the property market has meant that the number of searches needed to be carried out have almost doubled. There are some areas where Dorset Council are not seeing delays, and the Building Control Service have been one of those areas that have been checking and visiting throughout the pandemic and have managed to keep up with demand. So there we go. So some extra work for some departments in Dorset Council, and they're asking you to bear with them, and others that have managed to keep up and keep active through the demand. Turning now to Dorset Police. Dorset Police's Operation Vigilant initiative, which aims to reduce the risk to vulnerable people enjoying a night out and identify and deter sex offenders, has had another successful weekend. The pilot initiative was first launched in Bournemouth Town Centre, and this time plainclothes officers have been out on patrol in Weymouth, including the Esplanade, the beach and adjacent alleys, over the weekend of 28th of August last weekend. And they were able to call in uniformed colleagues where intervention or assistance was required. Superintendent Gavin House of Dorset County LPA said, "This is the first time we have used this unique policing method in Weymouth, not least the use of covert officers that are intrinsic to Operation Vigilant. It has been successful and we will be doing it again." The plainclothes officers on patrol reported that although there were many people out and about, including many for a music festival, all were generally in good spirits. Several people who were on their own on the beach in a bid to avoid the crowds were pleased with the reassurance that the officers gave them when they were spoken to. A man who had assaulted someone was arrested by uniformed officers, and the woman who was with him, who claimed to be his girlfriend but had actually never met him, was safeguarded. Working with special constables, the officers also safeguarded a man who had taken a tumble down some stairs. Dorset Police say that anyone on a night out who is concerned for another member of the public being alone and vulnerable, perhaps being subject to unwanted attention or inappropriate touching or aggression, should always approach a police officer or a member of the venue staff where they are to let them know. Staying with Dorset Police, police officers investigating a collision in Dorchester involving a pedestrian and a lorry are appealing for witnesses to come forward. Dorset Police was called at 9:22 a.m. on this Tuesday, 31st of August, to report of an injury collision in Weymouth Avenue near to Tesco's, involving a pedestrian who was directing a heavy goods vehicle and became entangled with the load, causing him to be pinned between the item and a parked Range Rover. Luckily, the pedestrian, a man aged in his 40s and from Taunton, only sustained minor injuries. Dorset Police would like to hear from anyone who may have been in the area and may have captured anything on their dash cam on their car. If you have any information about that incident, please do give Dorset Police a ring on 101, or if you wish to give the details and information anonymously, of course, you can contact Crime Stoppers on free phone 0800 555 111. It's been a busy week for Weymouth Lifeboat, with several launches this week and quite a demand on its services. The latest one being that the Weymouth RNLI all-weather lifeboat, which you can see up on the screen, was launched at 35 minutes past midnight yesterday, Friday the 3rd of September, to search for an overdue motor vessel with 7 people on board. The vessel with 2 adults and 5 children on board was believed to be making its way to Weymouth from Shell Bay in Poole, where it had been towed by the Swanage lifeboat the day before after running aground near Swanage. The vessel had last been seen at St Albans Head at 6 p.m. on Thursday the 2nd of September by the National Coast Watch and was making laboured progress south of Kimmeridge. Checks by Coast Guard teams of Weymouth Marinas and Portland Port CCTV revealed that it hadn't arrived. The lifeboat carried out a shoreline search from Weymouth to St Albans Head in case it was on rocks, along with a 2-mile radar sweep, before searching by radar and eye further from the shore in a 2-mile search grid. At 1:20 a.m. the Coast Guard helicopter joined the search, carrying out an intensive offshore search. The Coast Guard and all search assets had not been able to make radio contact with the vessel. At 3:40 a.m, with a thorough search of the area having been completed and nothing found, the lifeboat was stood down and returned to station. The vessel has still not been located. The message is here, I think, if you're making plans to travel on your boat, the Coast Guard ask you to let them know if you're travelling from one location to another, so that they can check that you get there safely, and if anything goes wrong, they've got an idea of where you are and they can come searching for you. In this case, unfortunately, at the time of going to air, there has been no notice of this vessel. Hopefully they will be found all well somewhere, and it's just a communications problem. It's just gone 12 minutes past 6 as we move on to one of the other emergency services. It's all about emergency services this week. This weekend it's been a busy time for all of them, and we do very much rely on them. And the next one we're turning to is Dorset and Somerset Air Ambulance. Last year, Dorset and Somerset Air Ambulance were tasked to 2,016 incidents. Their critical care teams also provided 38 time-critical into-hospital transfers and administered blood products to 35 patients, significantly improving their chances of getting to hospital alive. With no direct government or national lottery funding, they rely on the generosity of the public to help raise their operational costs of over £5 million a year, with every mission on average costing £3,000. Air ambulance charities across the country are once again coming together to celebrate this week, Air Ambulance Week, and that runs between Monday the 6th, this coming Monday, and Sunday the 12th of September. The National Awareness Week, organised by Air Ambulances UK, will see Dorset and Somerset Air Ambulance join other air ambulance charities around the country in a campaign called Every Second Counts and Every Penny Matters. The campaign highlights how air ambulance charities rapidly deliver advanced life-saving pre-hospital care directly to the side of patients when suffering a life-threatening injury or illness. Essentially, the charities bring the emergency department to the patient when every second counts towards their survival. Prior to the start of Air Ambulance Week on Sunday the 5th, that's tomorrow, Dorset and Somerset Air Ambulance will hold their Coast to Coast Cycle Challenge 2021. Supporters will once again take to their bikes and cycle either a 55-mile route from Watchet to West Bay or a shorter 11-mile route from Drimpton. Unfortunately, last year's event was cancelled due to the COVID pandemic, so the charity is delighted that this year's event is going ahead. During Air Ambulance Week itself, Dorset and Somerset Air Ambulance will be using their social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, etc., to raise awareness of their life-saving work and asking the public to show their support by donating whatever they can, as every penny matters. Donations can be made online via the charity's website at www.dsAirambulance.org.uk or by giving them a call on 01823 669 604. Of course, if you'd like to donate £5 via your mobile phone, you can text DSAA to 70085. So if you want to donate £5 via your mobile phone, just text DSAA to 70085. Of course, if you want to find out any other information about any of the other fundraising activities or how you can support Dorset and Somerset Air Ambulance, just pop along to their website at any time, www.dsairambulance.org.uk. If you can't remember that, just search for Dorset Air Ambulance and you'll find the website. Very, very easy. Moving on to hay fever. It's still a season of hay fever. Obviously, lots of people suffer from hay fever over the summer months from various different pollens. But driving experts have warned taking hay fever tablets while behind the wheel could leave drivers with a 1-year ban and possibly a prison sentence. Insurance firm Marmalade have said certain antihistamines can cause drowsiness, blurred vision, dizziness and confusion, severely affecting a driver's ability and could result in some trouble with the law. Driving under the influence of any drug is illegal if it impairs your abilities, and this includes prescription and over-the-counter medications. A conviction for drug driving carries a minimum of 1-year driving ban and an unlimited fine, whilst the worst offences can carry a 6-month jail sentence. A spokesman for the insurance company Marmalade said 1 in 4 people in the UK has hay fever. And with regular pollen bombs occurring throughout the summer months, sufferers will feel the effects. Certain antihistamines can cause drowsiness, blurred vision, dizziness and confusion, and thus severely affecting a driver's abilities. Driving under the influence of drugs is illegal if it impairs your abilities, including the prescription and over-the-counter drugs. They obviously wanting you to think before you take antihistamines and drive, and think whether it has affected your ability to concentrate whilst driving. And finally, did you know 65 years ago, on the 16th of September 1956, Play-Doh went on sale in the USA. It was originally sold as a wallpaper cleaning compound, believe it or not, but was then relaunched as a modelling compound when the inventor's nephew discovered that nursery school children were using it to make Christmas ornaments. So there we go, Play-Doh, that thing that many young people have had fun with over the last 56 years, was not even designed as Play-Doh. It was designed as a wallpaper cleaning compound. And I didn't realise that until I read that story. So there we go. That's the end of our headlines tonight. And the time is just gone 18 minutes past 6. Now moving on, and following on our series linked with the Weymouth 450 and Janet Hall and her series of What Did the Victorians Do for Weymouth? This week, Janet Hall is looking at the Jubilee Clock in Weymouth. So let's hear from Janet now.
The year 1887 was a milestone in the reign of Queen Victoria. It marked the 50th year of her ruling over the kingdom. This was the year of her Golden Jubilee, which was celebrated across the land in great style. Weymouth, not to be outdone in the party stakes, held their grand celebrations on Tuesday the 21st of June, funded by a Jubilee committee that had been set up to raise money for and organise events in the town. So well had the committee's fundraising gone that even after all the festive feasting and grand illuminations on the big day, a sum of approximately £100 was left in the kitty. The committee decided to approach the council with their suggestion of a clock tower on the esplanade as a lasting reminder of the magnificent royal occasion. The council quickly agreed to the idea. No doubt the fact that they only had to fund the cost of a base for the clock tower helped them to make their minds up to go ahead with the scheme. The clock part itself, with its 4 illuminated faces, was donated by Sir Henry Edwards, who was the local Liberal MP for Weymouth and Melcombe Regis between 1867 and 1885. His statue is the one that stands at the end of Alexandra Gardens, having been placed there in 1885 as a lasting memorial of his generosity towards the inhabitants of Weymouth. The following year, 1888, with plans finally approved, work started on the construction of the clock tower, and later that year, on the 31st of October, the town mayor, John Groves, who you may remember from the piece we did on Sydney Hall a few weeks ago, led the celebrations at the grand unveiling of this permanent monument to their ruling monarch, Queen Victoria. If you look at this early 20th century photo of the clock, you'll notice a couple of striking differences between the Victorian version and our modern one. The first is that it originally stood on a plinth that jutted right out onto the beach, whereas today's clock stands next to the road. No, the clock hasn't moved, but the esplanade has. In the early 1920s, as part of a scheme to help solve major unemployment of many of the returning men from World War I, a public works scheme was set up by the Liberal government. Weymouth Council used this scheme as an opportunity to widen the esplanade. They could receive up to 60% of the men's labour costs and felt it was too good an opportunity to miss to make major improvements to the town, and in the process supplying work for some of the 500 local men unemployed at the time. The second difference you'll notice is the colours. The original clock tower was very drab compared to today's dazzling landmark. Along with the new wider esplanade of the 1920s came paint. The tower was given its magnificent cloak of Weymouth colours. In 2011, it received a major sprucing up, ready for the Olympics in 2012, and it now stands proudly, glistening in the sunlight with its new gildings. Our Queen Victoria Jubilee clock is probably one of Weymouth's most easily recognised landmarks. There'll be more about Weymouth's 450 years of history next week. Hope to see you then.
Thank you, Janet, and I'm sure you've passed that clock on many occasions. Maybe you didn't know too much about it, but you know a little bit more now. And the other thing to say is that Janet mentioned Sir Henry Edwards there, and of course they're not only helping with that clock. Sir Henry Edwards helped with many other things in Weymouth, including the Working Men's Club in Mitchell Street, and of course the Edwards Homes, 32 properties for the elderly who can't afford their own homes in Weymouth, and I'm sure many, many more things. And maybe we'll hear more about Sir Henry Edwards in the weeks and months ahead. Moving on, it was 60 years ago, on the 11th of September 1961, that the World Wildlife Fund, now known as the Worldwide Fund for Nature, was founded in Switzerland. So this week, our reporter Lydia looks at WWF and some of the things they've achieved in the last 60 years.
Over the past 60 years, the World Wildlife Fund, or WWF for short, has grown from a small group of wildlife enthusiasts to one of the world's largest and most respected independent conservation organizations. Today, they are working to protect the planet in more than 100 countries on 5 continents with the support of 5 million people. As they have developed, their focus has evolved from localized efforts to protect individual habitats and single species, such as the giant panda, to an ambitious strategy to restore biodiversity and achieve sustainable development around the globe. WWF has been at the heart of panda conservation since 1979. Working with the Chinese government, they have helped to set up a network of panda reserves to protect their bamboo habitat. Today, there are 67 reserves covering around 1.4 million hectares. These efforts have really paid off. The panda census in the early 2000s put the population at 1,596, and this had increased to 1,864 at the latest count in 2014. Just 10 years ago, wild tigers were heading towards extinction. From perhaps 100,000 at the beginning of the 20th century, tiger numbers had hit an all-time low of an estimated 3,200. In 2010, the governments of all 13 tiger range countries made a commitment to double wild tigers by 2022, the Chinese Year of the Tiger. A global recovery plan followed, and WWF, together with individuals, businesses, communities, governments and other conservation partners, have worked tirelessly to turn this grand ambition into reality. In the heart of the Colombian Amazon, Serranía del Chiribiquete National Park is one of the most pristine areas of tropical rainforest on the planet. It's home to almost 3,000 species of animals and plant. Chiribiquete is also vitally important to local indigenous communities, some of whom remain uncontacted or live in voluntary isolation. In 2018, after years of campaigning by WWF and others, the Colombian government increased the size of the national park by more than half. At 4.3 million hectares, the size of Denmark, it's now the largest area of protected rainforest in the world. WWF are now working with communities, government and other partners to make sure the national park is properly looked after. Mountain gorillas are found in only 2 places, the Virunga Mountains and Bwindi Impenetrable National Park in Uganda. Just over 1,000 remain in the wild, but the outlook for these gentle giants looks much brighter than it did a few decades ago. In 1991, WWF set up the International Gorilla Conservation Program, IGCP, with their partners at the African Wildlife Foundation and Flora and Fauna International. And by working together with local communities and the governments of the 3 countries, they have managed to reverse the decline in mountain gorilla numbers. Thanks to the efforts of WWF and many others, international trade in ivory was banned way back in 1989. But many countries continued to sell ivory within their own borders. As the poaching crisis in Africa escalated, they stepped up our efforts to highlight the scale of the problem and had a major breakthrough at the end of 2016 when China, the world's largest ivory market, announced that it would ban all domestic ivory sales within a year. These are just a few of the areas that WWF have been and continue to work on. We now hear direct from WWF as they mark 60 years.
The Earth is more than 4 billion years old. In the lifespan of a planet, 60 years is nothing. But an awful lot can change in 60 years, good and bad. Back in 1961, when WWF started, most TVs were black and white. A young presenter called David Attenborough was appearing on our screens. We believed burning coal was the best source of power. We thought the ocean was so big, nothing could harm it. And the tropical rainforests would always be there. Back then, we thought conservation was mostly about protecting animals in trouble. We didn't know we'd end up having to protect the entire natural world. We never imagined we'd find plastic inside fish, or a future Arctic Ocean with almost no ice. 60 years on, we have a very different picture. We can see how everything connects, and every year the challenges get tougher. More demand for land and water, for food, for products, all putting unsustainable pressures on nature. The truth is, the next 10 years will shape the future of life on our planet. The direction we choose, the history we create, our survival is up to all of us. With your support, and by working alongside local communities, we have seen recovering populations of wild pandas, mountain gorillas, and tigers. Rare animals like the Indus River dolphin and others have been brought back from the brink of extinction. More wild places now have legal protection on land, in rivers, and at sea. For instance, the huge rainforest park at Chiribiquete and Belize Coral Reef. We've pushed global governments to pass new nature laws and tougher targets for cutting carbon. There's so much still to do. But building back after the COVID pandemic, we can create a greener, fairer economy that supports nature and protects this unique planet we all depend on. It's completely achievable. We have a plan. If we act now, by 2030 we should start seeing the impacts of a more sustainable food system, a more stable climate, and a healthier, recovering world. And 60 years on from today, let's create a history to be proud of. Together we can save our one shared home.
Sorry about that, pressed the wrong button there. I haven't done that for a while. There we go, WWF, Worldwide Fund for Nature. Of course, if you wish to donate to them, go along to their website at wwf.org.uk. And I think the other thing to say about them and all charities, whether it's some of the local ones that we've mentioned before, like Life Education or Envy Freedom, the Scouts, whoever, they've all suffered through the pandemic. So, if you've got some extra pennies, we've heard how people are spending them all on their homes, but maybe you can spare a few extra pennies for those charities that are dear to your heart and who have struggled a bit over the last 18 months. We're going to move on to talk about another organisation now that is celebrating this month as well, because it's 50 years ago, on the 15th of September 1971, that Greenpeace, the international environmental group, was founded in Vancouver. Make it a green peace was first uttered in Vancouver in 1970. It marked the close of the meeting of the Don't Make a Wave Committee, where it had just been agreed to send a boat to Amchitka, I think that's how you say it, Amchitka, to confront the US nuclear weapons testing. Greenpeace did not have a boat, they didn't have the funds to buy one, or even the skills to sail one. A year later, however, on September the 15th, 1971, the Phyllis Cormack, bearing the banner Greenpeace across the bridge, left Vancouver bound for Amchitka, determined to confront the bomb. It was still doubtful if the funds would last or if the skills to get there would be sufficient. Well, actually, the Greenpeace never arrived, and on the 6th of November, an underground atomic bomb was exploded, rupturing the island, opening fissures, and pushing deadly radiation into the surrounding environment. The first of many mind bombs, as they like to call them, an idea so powerful that it changes mindsets, had also exploded in the collective consciousness. The crew's courage and powerful storytelling ignited mass opposition to future tests, and the all-powerful US Atomic Energy Commission reluctantly declared it would abandon the Amchitka site. And they stated it was for political and other reasons. A stunning victory for daring to care and caring to dare. That initial fusing of peace and ecology, Greenpeace, had a percussive effect, growing to encompass countless campaigns for a safer, fairer future. Greenpeace, the organisation, can now be found in 57 countries and counting, with thousands of staff, tens of thousands of volunteers and many tens of millions of supporters. They are all bound by a common mission and value to ensure the ability of the Earth to nurture life in all its diversity. As Greenpeace marks its 50th anniversary, we're going to see a short video from Greenpeace that looks back over those 50 years.
50 years ago, a small group of activists set sail for a nuclear test zone in an old fishing boat. Departing from Vancouver, the goal of the 12 people aboard the small ship dubbed the Greenpeace was to halt a US nuclear weapons test at Amchitka Island off the coast of Alaska. Out of that first act of protest in 1971, Greenpeace was formed, and in 5 decades we have grown from this small group to a global environmental organization that operates in 57 countries and works alongside allies and mass movements around the world. Over time, we have campaigned on many environmental issues, deployed different nonviolent tactics in different places all over the Earth. But the heart of what we do hasn't changed. We give this fragile earth a voice, we inspire hope through action, we believe that 1 billion acts of courage can spark a brighter tomorrow. As part of our 50th anniversary, we are looking back at all that has been achieved and look forward to all the work we must do to ensure a green and just future for all.
There we go, that's Greenpeace. And just before it, the WWF, two organisations that are celebrating anniversaries in the coming month. And of course, the world would be such a different place if we didn't have all these charities and all these volunteers that give their time for so many different causes. We might not necessarily agree with all of them all of the time, but actually they do a world of good in representing different views and caring for the world that we live in. It is just gone 6:36 and it's time for the weather and the national weather forecast. Now this week the Met Office seem to have changed the way they're doing the Saturday forecast, so it will look a bit different, but nonetheless it's going to tell us what's happening over the weekend in terms of the weather. So here we go over to the Met Office for the national weather forecast.
Hello there. Saturday there'll be a lot of cloud across central and eastern parts of the UK. The sunniest skies will be across western and southwestern parts, particularly southwest England, and it will feel quite cool along the east coast once more. Looking at the bigger picture, high pressure slips to the southeast. This will finally change our wind direction to more of a southerly direction, drawing in warmer air over the next few days. Looking at the rest of Saturday, a lot of cloud across central and eastern parts of the UK. A little bit of drizzle is possible over the higher ground and around some coasts. The best of the sunshine across parts of Wales, southern Wales in particular, southwest England, and a few sunny spells for Northern Ireland, western and northern Scotland too. In the sunshine, temperatures will reach the low 20s, perhaps as high as 23 or 24 Celsius across southwest England, but under the cloud across central and eastern areas, it will be still quite chilly, particularly along the east coast with that northeasterly breeze, struggling between 15 and 18 Celsius at the best. Through Saturday afternoon and into the evening time, clouds should lift and break across the central spine of the UK, but it will continue to thicken with some drizzle across the far east. Central and western areas will see some clear skies with some mist and fog patches developing, and a few showers will start to move in across Northern Ireland and western Scotland. Temperatures generally holding up in double figures for towns and cities, particularly in the east. Under the clearest skies across parts of Scotland, we may see temperatures dip into single figures here. So a mixed start to Sunday morning. There'll be some grey cloud in the east, but plenty of sunshine developing across central and western areas. However, a thicker cloud will move into parts of Northern Ireland and western Scotland through the day with outbreaks of rain. In the best of the sunshine, temperatures will reach the mid to low 20s for many parts of England and Wales, and feeling much warmer along eastern coasts compared to recent days. Maximum temperatures around about 25 Celsius across southern England, feeling a little bit cooler where it turns breezier across the far northwest of the UK. Taking a look at the next few days, we'll see temperatures continue to climb, reaching 27 to 28 Celsius as we move into the beginning of next week. Plenty of sunshine around as well, however, it does turn more unsettled as we head towards the end of the week.
So there we go, that's the national weather forecast. And if we look at the local weather forecast for the days ahead, as just reiterated in the national forecast, the best days will be the start of the week, with Tuesday being the brightest day, but the others being sunny with maybe cloudy spells. Obviously tomorrow looks a really nice day, but it could be a possibility of showers as we get from Wednesday onward towards next weekend. Just do a time check. We're just coming up to 20 to 7. Moving on to our traffic and travel this week. Southern Gas Networks are working in Doncaster Road and Hilborn Road, and the emergency works that have been going on Dorchester Road near Morrison's continue, but they do hope that they'll be finished by the 10th of September. BT are working in Verne Road this week, and Wessex Water in Radipole Lane, and Scottish and Southern in Granby Way. On the trains, there are no planned engineering works this weekend or the week ahead affecting services from Weymouth, and there's no notice about those works in the Bristol area that we've had for the last couple of months, so they've obviously finished Well, let's hope they've finished. They've certainly gone from the notification system that tells us the work that is coming up. Looking to some of the what's on stuff, I'm going to tell you about some things that are coming up in the weeks ahead. And we've got the Weymouth Beach Motocross is returning this year, having had a break due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is organised by the Weymouth Upon Lions Club and the Purbeck Motocross Club. I'm sure many of you will know the large motocross event on the beach in Weymouth. It's quite a large event. It's quite noisy. You can't miss it. That returns on Sunday, October the 10th. So Sunday, the October the 10th. For the Weymouth Beach Motocross. It's obviously a big fundraiser for the Lions Club, and it's obviously an event that lots of people like to go and watch. So there's one to put in your diary. Next weekend, September the 11th and 12th, is the Dorset Seafood Festival in Weymouth. It's on the Weymouth Peninsula behind the pavilion. And it's having to move from that from its usual venue on the harbour side to the peninsula site, because it has to be a ticketed event to actually keep the numbers under control for COVID. So they will be very pleased if you pay them a visit. Obviously operating under difficult circumstances this year, and hopefully we'll get back to normal next year. But lots of the usual things happening: cookery workshops, fish auctions, lots of fish-based food. So well worth a visit if you are around next weekend, September the 11th and 12th. Also to tell you that the Weymouth Gin and Fizz Festival, this sounds really interesting, doesn't it? Weymouth Gin and Fizz Festival will return to Weymouth Pavilion on October the 16th. Again, another very popular event, I understand, so do put that one in your diary. And finally to say, Saturday the 12th to the 18th of September, there's going to be a series of Heritage Open Days in Dorchester. All sorts of things going on, from things at the Keep Military Museum, Victorian activities, Roman activities, Mad Hatter's Picnic, various tours of various places in the town. There's just so much stuff I can't mention it, but do look out for the publicity on that. It's the Heritage Open Days in Dorchester, running from the 12th to the 18th of September. And if you're looking for anything to do over that week, there is tons of it going on. So do look out for that, and do pop up to Dorchester and see what's going on. Now, our film section this week, I'm going to do a rerun of one that I did earlier in the year, because it's actually being launched in the next couple of weeks in cinemas. And it was a choice between this one and a really horror film. And I played the trailer of the horror film, and I thought, it's not something that I would watch, and I'm just a little bit concerned about some of the content and putting it out at between 6 and 7 in the evening. So I've decided to go for the easy option and the friendly option, and think family friendly. So I hope that's okay with you. So the film we're looking at again this week, and we did preview it some months ago when the trailer was released, but it is going into cinemas in the next couple of weeks, is Dune. It's by Oscar nominee Denis Villeneuve, who did Blade Runner, and it's Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures' Dune, the big screen adaptation of Frank Herbert's seminal bestseller of the same name. It's a mythical and emotionally charged hero's journey. Dune tells the story of Paul Atreides, a brilliant and gifted young man born into a great destiny beyond his understanding, who must travel to the most dangerous planet in the universe to ensure the future of his family and his people. As malevolent forces explode into conflict over the planet's exclusive supply of the most precious resources in existence, a commodity capable of unlocking humanity's greatest potential, only those who can conquer their fear will survive. It's by Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures, and they present the Legendary Pictures production, a film by Denis Villeneuve, Dune, and it's just coming up to 7:15, and we'll see that trailer now.
Our planet Arrakis is so beautiful when the sun is low. Rolling over the sands, you can see spice in the air. The outsiders ravage our lands in front of our eyes. Their cruelty to my people is all I've known. What's to become of our world? Paul.
A boy!
Hey, Duncan, can I trust you with something?
Yes, always, you know that.
I've been having dreams about a girl on Arrakis. I don't know what it means.
Dreams make good stories. But everything important happens when we're awake. Hey, you. Put on some muscle?
I did?
No.
We are House Atreides. There is no call we do not answer. There is no faith that we betray.
Smile, Gurney.
I am smiling.
The Emperor asks us to bring peace to Arrakis. House Atreides accepts!
I know you. There's something awakening in my mind.
You need to face your fears.
Come with me. You need to be ready.
You've never met Harkonnens before. They're not human, they're brutal.
The Duke's son sees too much.
This is why June. Kill them all. God in heaven.
Get everything with guns off the ground! Go!
This is an extermination. They're picking my family off one by one.
Let's fight like demons.
Dad, what if I'm not the future of House Atreides?
A great man doesn't seek to lead. He's called to it. But if your answer is no, you'll still be the only thing I ever needed you to be. My son. If anything happens, will you protect Paul?
With my life.
Only together can we stand a chance.
It's time.
There you go, in cinemas in October. Looks at an epic film there, and I think it's much more appropriate than the horror one that I was going to put up. I'm glad I didn't run the other one. Anyway, we're coming towards the end of our programme tonight. It's just 6:48 and a half, so we'll be finished by about 10 to. Thank you for joining me this week. Just a reminder of some of the things that are coming up. Well, I'll also put up the banner that I usually put up to remind you of our local stations. Tomorrow there is a service at All Saints Church at 8 o'clock and at 9:30. Now the 9:30 service is not being live streamed tomorrow because it's got baptisms with young children involved, so we are recording the 8 o'clock service, which we will be putting out at 9:30. So there will be a Sunday service going out at 9:30, but it won't be the live 9:30 service. Also a service at St Edmund's Church at 11 o'clock. And don't forget our Year in Gardening with Clive Gray that goes out at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. Yesterday we put out the September new version, so if you haven't seen that, do pop back to one of the channels and replay it. That'd be really good. And most importantly, to remind you that our weekly quiz starts again tonight, 7:30, in just over half an hour's time, 40 minutes time. We will be doing our quiz. So if you haven't got anything on tonight, or there's nothing on TV you want to watch, you'll be very welcome. It's free and open to everyone. It's on all our Facebook and YouTube channels, so you can join by any link that you've got. And of course, if you want to keep up with local events and local news and fundraising things that are going on locally, do pay a visit to one of our local radio stations that are available throughout the week, 24 hours a day. Chesil Radio, Keep 106 and Air 107.2 FM. as I keep saying, they're all slightly different in style. There's an absolute massive range of programs between these three providers. Everything from gardening and farming to classical music and pop and religious stuff. It's all there. Whatever you want, you will find it on one of these stations. And they're all for different markets, from Air looking at the younger market to Keep looking at sort of middle age and older market. So there is something for everyone. Anyway, that's enough said. I've come to the end of the programme. It's just coming up actually to 6:51, and I'm going to say goodnight and look forward to being back with you at 6 o'clock next Saturday for next week's programme. Good night, have a good week, have a safe week, and enjoy the good weather that we've got at the start of the week.